Hey everyone, my name is Sarah Labus. I'm here with Republic Nation News, and I'm also here with Kelly Giles. How are you?
Good day. I'm
Good.
great. Glad to be here.
It's good.
We got a lot going on, don't we?
We do. We have a lot to catch up on, and the election is over for the most part. And I think we're glad to maybe take a little bit of a breather. This was a heated
Oh,
election that we had.
yeah, it was. It was very heated. A lot of money was spent, probably a record amount of money spent on this election for Amarillo City Council, and duly so. So, my first, I'm big on tells, and I think the first big tell on that is that there's a struggle for the heart and soul of Amarillo. And so we saw that big time in the election. But I'll let you get to some results.
Yeah, so we just want to congratulate our winners. So Mayor Cole Stanley, we want to congratulate you on your win for place one. Tim Reed, place two. Dawn, that was close for you, but but you won your election. Dawn
Yeah,
Tips.
Don was really shaking in his boots, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. And we do have a runoff in place three, which we'll talk about between David Prescott and Tom Sherlin. And then place four, we want to congratulate Les Simpson. So we've got,
And Tim Reed.
I said Tim Reed,
Oh,
didn't
did
I?
you?
Yeah, I think I did for place one.
All right,
So
very
yeah,
good.
don't want to leave Tim Reed out. So, but yeah, so we do have a runoff. Let's move on. I'm just going to run through AISD real quick just to congratulate them as well. So Don Powell, Tom Warren II, David Nance,
Yes.
and Doyle Corder. The Amarillo Board of Regents for Amarillo College. So incumbents that all won was Paul Proffer, David Woodburn, and Johnny Mize. And we talked about this just a while ago before we came on air, but, every vote does count. And between Johnny Mize and Mary Braley was only 6 votes. And potentially that's 2 people that went and voted because you can give 3 votes for that particular race. So every person voting, that it matters.
Okay, so
So-
so our audience if you heard that, in the AC was decided in the third position?
Third position.
The third position on the AC
Yeah.
was basically decided by 2 voters. 2 voters going to the poll decided that race. And so that's good to know that your vote does count.
Yes.
And each and every time, in this case, AC, the way it's structured, you get to actually vote, have 3 votes. So you can vote for 3 people, or you can cast all 3 for the same person, which is what most people do.
Right. So just to go back to our runoff that we're going to have,
Right.
that runoff is going to take place on June 7th. So everybody, we've got to stay hooked till then.
Yes.
Don't get on burnout because we do have a runoff between Tom Sherlin and David Prescott. Looking at the voting, Tom Sherlin, it looks like he got 7,748 votes. David Prescott got 7,443. Nooney Perez got 1,157 votes. That was about 7% of the vote. So, Nooney was really a pretty strong candidate.
Yes.
And so, depending on who he might endorse, that could shift those votes. It'll be interesting to see in time.
Right.
But Tom Sherlin and David Prescott are going to probably have a pretty tough race.
Yes. So everybody stay hooked. And so the election day will be in June. And so you want to stay hooked on this. And I was maybe a little bit premature in my comment, but so you could tell it was on my mind. But there's a lot of money spent here on these races, and it's because there's really a lot of competition of ideas, and people feel very strongly about that. But what I've noticed, really, especially in that place 3 race between David and Tom, was a lot of their visions and strategies are really very similar. And I thought that's very interesting because they really all want good water. Both of them want good, clean water, good water pressure, especially up there in the North Heights. And then you want to alleviate the sewer issues down here on the south end of town. And, then the one thing that this past council, has done so great is they've found a lot of money that we did not know we had to improve the streets, and then also to give raises to the first responders, such as the police officers and the firemen. And how does that affect your daily life is what I recommend to people, is always think about how these things affect your daily life. Well, if we're not only giving raises to the police officers, we're also hiring more law enforcement officers and more first responders. And so that's going to be a great benefit to your personal life, your feeling of security, your feeling of your ability to go out and do crazy things, and somebody will be there to help you, you know. And so, like me, I had a little horse accident about a month ago, and lo and behold, we didn't need first responders. But anyway, I thought about that, having that ability by cell phone or whatever to get someone out there to help makes you brave to do some stunts maybe you shouldn't do anymore. But anyway, that's one of the great benefits, and we are thankful. I want to say this. I'm very thankful for all the people that voted, and very thankful for all the people that ran for office. We appreciate you, and we love the fact that you are willing to serve your community. And so know that we do appreciate you, and that's very genuine coming from the heart.
So just one thing to add about the runoff. I think the voters would say that there are two strong candidates that are running,
Right.
but may have slightly different visions on what they're maybe wanting to do.
Right.
So Tom Sherlin, has run, I'm thinking of his billboard, Promises Made, Promises Kept.
Yeah.
And he does offer for people to come in to speak and talk with him. I think it's weekly meetings.
He does.
Which I think is a good thing. To offer that to the community openly, to where they can come in and speak to him when they would like to. The other thing, David Prescott, you mentioned water, so he's with Talon LPE, and so he is concerned about the infrastructure. So I think that's his main item or agenda of running, is to fix the water sewer. So I think you've got two different candidates, but the voters, you'll decide on June 6th, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it turns out.
Well, I'll say I've got just a small diatribe that I'll save when we get into the AEDC discussion.
Yes.
But I think that Amarillo today is in a much better position than we were just a few years ago. And I think that we have to understand that we have made great progress, and this is a great place to live. And we are in the process, I think, of developing a new vision for the city. And I think that's going to come out of the AEDC board, the new AEDC board. I think that vision's going to be forthcoming very soon, maybe in the first 100 days of the new board forming. So I think Amarillo, we're in for great things. And I'm just, as a county chair, I love elections and votes. Sometimes you have to do appointments. I'm not so keen on them, but that's sometimes the only thing you can do. But every chance you get to have an election and have people with competitive or competing ideas, we all win. When we're able to see those ideas and get those people out there expressing their ideas and competing for your vote, that is a very, very, what I want to say, winning position to be in.
So talk about the voting. We had low voter turnout this go around. What do you think what caused that, do you think?
Well, I think...
and we talked about this a little
right.
bit, but what do you think is the main reason?
I think there's a little... Number one, turnout is generally lower in city elections, but not this low, And so I think the things that affected it, number one, back in the general election of 24, just a few months ago, we elected Trump.
Right.
And
people got a little comfortable.
People have gotten comfortable because what happened after Trump got elected? Then look at all the cabinet members that he's put in.
Right.
And look at all the changes. Look at all the money they're finding.
Right.
Especially for Social Security. We're taking millions of people off of Social Security that weren't supposed to be there. And so I think we've got to understand that the apathy, a little bit of apathy comes in from the fact that people have relaxed a little bit. their anxiousness is lower, and so they don't feel the anxiousness or the angst to go to the polls. So I think there's a little bit of that. But I want to say one thing to the Randall County Republican Party out there and the Randall County Republican electorate is we've got one more vote coming up in June. And make no mistake, if you do not go vote, you're really saying, I don't care. Mm-hmm. And if you are enjoying better law enforcement today, that's because you did care last time. If you're enjoying better fire protection today, you did care last time. And if your streets, you see the streets being improved, and you see the sewer plants going in, and you see the water pressure starting to be repaired and fixed on the north side of town, you did benefit from going to the polls last time. Mm-hmm. And so I'd like you to think about that this job is not done. I encourage you to see this job through, and you are, just like those two voters that swayed the direction of the Amarillo College Board. It could come down to 2 votes or even 1 vote in the Amarillo City election, which is going to sway which way the city council leans on a lot of different things. Mm-hmm.
I would also add, I don't think I got enough mailers for this election.
Oh, could we have one more?
Yeah, could we? Yeah, and I'm not sure I got enough texts either. So I think, also in addition to people maybe getting comfortable, also the negativity that came with the election, I think people got burned out. And so I think in future, maybe if we can, run on just our positivity and our ideas that we want to promote rather than trashing other candidates, I think people would appreciate that. So I think that's just something to add, which, politics, they're always, that's going to always happen. But it got very, very heated this election cycle, more than any other city council or local election I've seen.
And that's another element. It just wore people out. But I'll say this to the electorate out there, that being burned out or being tired of negative campaigning is not an excuse to take a day off from voting. That is not an excuse. All you're doing is handing off your responsibility and your right to vote. You're handing it off to someone else, and you're saying that, I just don't care.
Right.
And we don't want to do that. You do care. We all care.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure we get to the polls and that we cast our vote and that we have a great turnout so that it can be what I call a robust set of numbers. Mm-hmm. And I felt like, the turnout was so low in the city council election here last week. I did not feel we had a robust set of numbers.
Randall County, just to add, did outvote Potter County quite a bit.
Yeah, Randall County. Okay, so there's twofold. Number one, we're so happy you went to vote, and those that did go vote, we applaud you and we thank you and say, come back one more time. Those that did not vote, okay, I think you have to reassess your accountability and your responsibility in directing the future of the city. If you like the growth and you because Amarillo grows at just under 6%. Mm-hmm. For those of you who know, most cities would give their right pinky finger to have 6% growth. So we want to keep that going, and there's reasons for it, and it's called infrastructure, and that law enforcement, first responders, water, sewer, streets, that's all part of the infrastructure. And so we want to keep that going, and so come vote in June. Set that on your calendar. So go to your calendar right now and put it on your daily planner, like I do, that you got to spend some time to go vote. And we'll get that message out on voting day and locations in very, very short time.
Perfect. Is there anything else you want to add on City Council before we move on? Or
are we going to move on to ADC?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I've been waiting for this one.
Okay. Yes. So we have new members, and we'll go through them. So Deepak Patel stayed on, and then we have Alex Fairley that's going to stay on as chairman.
He's the chair.
And then we have Randy Burkett.
Yep.
on.
Okay, yeah, Randy Burkett, he's got quite a few of the electronic signs in town.
Yes.
That's Randy. And
Dean Crump.
Dean Crump. Dean Crump is a real estate investor in town. And Deepak is, Patel is a hotelier here in town. And
Elliot McKinney.
Elliot McKinney. There we go, Elliot. Don't want to leave you out. Elliot's been involved in business entities here in town for quite some time.
So how do you see the direction of the AEDC with these new members on board? Because you kind of talked about the first 100 days, what they're planning to do. Kind of tell us about that.
So I think it's very important to, first thing to be addressed is the vision. We have to put together a vision, not only for the city, because when we look at growth, you have to understand where growth comes from. And it comes from traffic. And traffic can be like you normally think of, people coming into town in cars and trucks and trains and planes and automobiles. But traffic is also internet orders. Traffic is also...
we have the port to planes.
Port to planes.
Yes, I-27, I-40.
So, because if you think about traffic, and especially if we can make them stop and stay overnight, and then there's the hotels, there's the restaurants, there's clothing stores, there's all these things that benefit from traffic. And so the more money that is spent in Amarillo, in other words, when money comes in from outside Amarillo, that's traffic in any way, shape, or form. When money comes into town, that's traffic. And so when that comes in and people have profitable businesses and they make good money, what is it they want to do? They want to build a new building and they want to expand. Or it encourages other businesses to come into town because there's so much economic activity here. And so when we talk about traffic being part of the vision, I think that has to be part of that vision of how do we get more traffic into town? How do we create, and this is the biggest thing, is the culture. And people say, well, we have a great culture in Amarillo. Yes, we do. But what about the culture of inviting in or encouraging traffic to come into town? That's the kind of culture I'm talking about. And that has to be part of the vision that has to be communicated. And of course, when you have vision, then you have to have goals, and then you have to apply strategy. And within strategy are tactics, and part of the tactics are the mechanics of that. In other words, I'll give you an example of tactics. This is kind of a negative example, but say we wanted people to spend more hours or overnight in Amarillo. Well, now nobody go do this, but what if I just went through as a tactic and threw out nails in the roadway, and people had flat tires and had to stop over and get them repaired?
You would never do that.
Now, I would never do that, and I'm not recommending that. Nobody do that. But now let's come up with positive tactics, such as concerts, such as conventions, such as we already have rodeos and cutting horse futurities and all sorts of things. But all these things have to go in to the overall plan in that vision. And that's what our AEDC is going to be working on in this first 100 days. And hopefully we're going to be there as Republic Nation News to communicate what they come up with.
I would add also it's important that we have retention of workers, that we have to build. And like Amarillo College, WT, Texas Tech University Health Sciences, Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center. It's important for all three to collaborate. That way, these students that are coming out have a vocational trade to where if they are building or doing, anything electronic or working hands-on with anything, that they are here so that we can retain them as workers to build whatever we need to do in the future.
Absolutely.
So I think it's really important to also look, we can say we want to build different things, but it takes workers to build those things. So rather than bringing people in, if we can use our own workers here, that's something I think that's really important.
And you're hitting on something that I've thought about too. So we have our creative people who sometimes are, but sometimes not. But the creative people have ideas that are joined by the investors who like the ideas. But you have to have a city government that is friendly to investment and ideas. And then you have to have the people, the engineers, the workers, the employees that can get all of it done. And that's where, and having WT down at Canyon and AC, having that ability to for people to get training or get further education is just tremendous. So in a way, here in Amarillo, we're probably the best kept secret in the United States of America, in my opinion. And we're kind of that diamond in the rough, or that jewel in hiding. And so I think we've got a tremendous amount of things to sell. And when I say sell our opportunity here in Amarillo. That's part of what we have to communicate in this vision that I think is going to be coming out of the AEDC.
And I think if you have businesses, like I said, coming, wanting to come to Amarillo, competing against Lubbock, Midland, Dallas area, or Houston, if we have those workers ready to go here, they're going to be more likely, to sign on with Amarillo. So I think that's just really important that we're investing in students for retention.
Absolutely.
So.
And schools and housing are a big part of that, which is opportunity,
right?
To grow the economy. More housing developments going in, more what I call affordable housing. That's always the struggle. Affordable housing for those just getting started in the economy, that are kind of starting out at scratch. And so we have to think about that, and that has to be part of that overall vision. But no, I think we've got I'm very impressed with the team at AEDC. All 5 members, if you heard that, all 5 members, I'm very impressed with you. And we're very thankful, and we're very excited and anxious to see what you come up with as far as a vision for our city. And I think that the sky's the limit on what we could do. But there's one thing I'd like to interject here. So one of the things that we all have to remember is, let's talk about the main industries in Amarillo. So I'll get questioned on this. So I'm gonna put it out there so everybody can ding on it. But 70% of your paycheck, of my paycheck, of Cody's paycheck, 70% of your paycheck every single week, bi-week, month, however you get your paycheck, and that includes school teachers, doctors, lawyers. 70% of your paycheck every time you get one, 70% of that is spun off of our number one industry. It's called the beef cattle industry here in Amarillo and the Texas Panhandle. So we have to remember that going forward, that is our biggest and most robust industry. Now, we have diversified, obviously, with Pantex, which is government money, which is very steady. And, the
Bell Helicopter.
Bell Helicopter, very steady money. So when there's ups and downs in the beef cattle industry, those other diversified industries that we have tend to flatten the ride out just a little bit. So we do still have a little bit of up and down, but we flatten the ride out with those. We're a big trucking hub,
right?
And think about all the trucks going up and down the road, whether you're a bull hauler, grain hauler, supplement hauler, fuel hauler. And that's where I get back to is our economy is about 70% based in the beef cattle industry. And you could probably include the milk industry, dairy, include dairy and hogs in there.
Dairy's
as well.
big.
Yeah.
In our area.
So agribusiness is our number one industry. And when you look at the 13th district, which is Ronnie Jackson's district, and Ronnie Jackson serves on the House Ag Committee. But the 13th District, for which we are here in Amarillo, we are the largest agribusiness or agricultural district in the entire state of Texas. So I think, and that works well for me because that's the industry I'm in, so I get to brag on it. But I think as we pull the vision forward from Amarillo,
that we know that's going to be a huge aspect of it.
We have to know that money gets spun, and all the money is spun. Everybody's paycheck, up to about 70%, is paid for by that spin-off economic benefit.
Okay. So before we move on, is there anything else you want to add on the AEDC, or we think we've hit all the points?
Oh, I'm excited
Yeah.
because I think, luckily for us here at Republic Nation News, we're going to have something to talk about every single week.
I know.
For the next several weeks. So
when is their next meeting?
I believe May 13th.
Okay.
May 13th is their next meeting for the AEDC. And it'll probably be an organizational
And this will be the first meeting with the new members.
Of the new council. Or the new board.
New board.
Now, people say, well, what does AEDC do? So that's a good question. So I call it the internal and the external. Mm-hmm. So on the internal, in other words, businesses that are already here in Amarillo, or people thinking about starting a business, say, hey, I've got this great idea for a business, but I need some business advice. I need some direction on where to go get investors or financing.
Or I need some money.
I need some money.
I need some money from the AEDC.
I need some money. So you go in and you can apply, take your business plan into the AEDC offices, and they will help you through the process. And if you qualify, you can actually get participating funds from the AEDC to start your business. And you can continue to get business advice and guidance. We have a professional counselor that's available to everybody that comes in, and they'll help you with cash flow projections, help you with setting up all sorts of different things in a business to help you get started, and then kind of walk with you in that path for the first year. So that's the internal side of it. The external side on AEDC, say someone would come up and private entity would say, I'd like to build a brand new convention center and hotel complex with a casino on the side. I'm not saying I'm for that. I'm just saying somebody comes with this great idea and says, hey, AEDC, we really want to do this, but we just need a little bit of help with a little bit of financing on this or a little bit of financing on that. And yes, those are bigger projects, but you have to look at the bigger picture. How many people are going to be employed? How many dollars are going to be spun off by having that convention center, let's say? And so it's a complete analysis they have to go through.
And we, want to attract business outside coming into Amarillo,
Absolutely.
But then we also want to help our small businesses
Absolutely.
thrive as well. So there's a balance
Yes.
between attracting outside business and then taking care of our inside businesses that we already have
Absolutely.
to make them thrive.
And I say it's a two-piston engine. It's the internal and the external both working together and coordinated. And so there's a lot of things the AEDC can do. I think one of the big things that they have to maybe explore that'll be most important is how to communicate. And this is part of the culturing, is how to communicate that to the internal and what we need to do as an internal to facilitate the external. And that's part of the culturing, the communication. And I think the AEDC is going to be charged with really being active on social media and communicating, like, at the national level, it's been great. And we talked about how a little bit of the voting anxiety has been squelched, is that about every day or at least once a week, you can go, Secretary of Defense. He puts out his own message. Mm-hmm. So does the Secretary of Agriculture. So does the Secretary of Interior and Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. They're all putting out their own message, and they're communicating with people to help bring the electorate along with them and they're doing a great job of, I call, culturing, to inform people that this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it. We need you to help us through support.
I think it's really important to keep in mind that with the election, for the most part done, minus place 3, is that as a community that we come together to move forward to make Amarillo the best that it can be. When we work together in unity, that's the best way to attract businesses to come into Amarillo. And I think that's one of the most important things that we can do, because if there is division, it can squelch businesses from wanting to come into Amarillo, and also internally for us to thrive just as a community. So
let's just take that for an example. So I walk into the local pharmacy here, and I'm from out of town, and someone dressed in beautiful pink is so glad to see me. Oh, you're from out of town. Well, so great. Hey, and they ask a question. What's it like to live in Amarillo? It's great to live in Amarillo. We have great schools. We have great law enforcement. We have tremendous first responder organization. And boy, it's just so easy to get a business started here. And that's a key word. It's so easy to start a business here. But you hit right on. That's a great example of culturing, that we as the individual in the Amarillo, greater Amarillo area, we have to play our role in that culturing. And that's why I say it's the internal understanding the role they have to play to promote Amarillo to the external. And it's not just ADC board, it's the entire community has to get on board with this. And so you make a great point.
And one thing I'll add too, and I've said this before, but with graduating from Texas Tech from the pharmacy school, we have the pharmacy school, the vet school, and the medical school all here. And I don't know of any other place in the United States that has that. So the opportunity that we have with having all 3 of those is something that we really need to take advantage of.
Absolutely. And that's what has to be communicated.
Right.
And part of this culturing that I'm talking about, this culturing package, as an element of the vision, overall vision. But it is a tremendous place. Amarillo is a great place. Mm-hmm. I moved here over 25 years ago. I had other options. I chose to come to Amarillo because I was like, this is the best place I've ever been. And
the people are very friendly here. That's what always people tell me when they move here. They're like, y'all are so friendly.
And it's okay. So the scenery, you got to drive a little ways to maybe
Paladuro.
Yeah, Paladuro Canyon or something. But I've told people for 25 years the reason I and my family moved here many years ago was because of the people and the culture.
Yeah.
And that's why we moved here. Bottom line. And it's still the same thing. It's a great place to live and a great place to raise family, a great place to make a living, start a business, you name it. There's great education here. It's in a great location across the country. And so I think we just have to start bringing everybody together in that messaging. And so AEDC board, if you're listening, we're very excited to hear your vision and how you guys feel like we need to move forward.
Okay, so moving forward, I'll just touch on one item real quick on the state, because we've mainly been doing local, and then we'll touch on national real quickly to sum up. But the school choice did pass. And that's going to be really interesting to see how that works in Texas. So it's completely kind of uncharted territory for our state. And so, but it did pass, and it's going to be interesting to see how all that works out. Do you have any comment on that?
Yes, I do, and every single one of them will get me into trouble. So, so this is what I'm going to say is that I'm always for more options, because I think options give you more opportunity, and options increase the value of whatever it is you're consuming. So I think having school choice is good, and I've said this many times. There needs to be a caveat, and hopefully the legislature took that into account, that we do have to give special attention or concession to the rural districts, because they're in a much different situation than the urban districts.
Right, not Texas. Having many private school options.
Yeah. And so
it's a different.
We have to kind of consider that. We don't want to leave anybody out, but I think it is the next best step. Now, will there be problems that will arise? Absolutely. And so we're going to have to address these problems as they arise, because nobody can absolutely figure everything out. But as they arise, why, don't be bashful. Call your state representative. Call me. And tell us the problem that's going on, and so we can get you started in that communication pathway of acknowledging what the problem is and how it might be addressed. But no, I think school choice is great. I think there's many different options these days, whether it be homeschooling. A lot of the homeschooling has actually evolved into a private school setting. That it's kind of a combination between homeschooling and organized schooling. And so my grandchildren are in that, and so they're getting along very good. I'm amazed at their level of competence. I'm amazed at that. It's like, man, I guess each generation does get better, because I wasn't that smart when I was 6 years old. So I think there's something to be said here. But for those that are maybe a little bit tentative or apprehensive about it, that's okay. There will be problems. Make sure your voice gets heard on the problems, because we want this to be successful for everybody.
Sure. Okay, and then moving on nationally. So on Tuesday, I thought this was so interesting. Pam Bondi, our Attorney General, she was in the El Paso Field Division at the DEA office, and they seized over 3 million pills of fentanyl. And so that was really neat. Watching that just as a pharmacist, it was the largest fentanyl seizure in U.S. history. So, and it was a big operation. It took, I know, at least a month. When I was reading, there were 16 individuals that have been arrested. They arrested them mainly in Salem, Oregon, but they found it in Phoenix, Arizona, Albuquerque. And the cartel, I forget the name of that cartel, but they took a big hit with that. So it was really interesting. It was Oxycontin pills that were laced with fentanyl, and so. Yeah, I just think it was really interesting. They said it was enough to kill 1.5 million people.
Oh, yeah, I don't doubt it. Yeah.
So, yeah,
we've talked about that before. The problem with fentanyl is the concentration.
Right, exactly. So I just wanted to mention that quickly.
So off of that, a lot of people that we're seeing Trump renegotiate the trade with Mexico, with Canada, with China, all three big violators of the fentanyl traffic. They haven't done a lot to curtail it. And so as we see these trade issues being negotiated, a lot of those trade issues are also negotiating the fentanyl flow. And so we're accomplishing a lot in trade. And so I think we want to keep that in mind, that we need to pray for Trump and his cabinet team and all those people involved, because they are doing a tough job. And today in the news, I don't know if you saw, but the UK just came to terms with tariffs.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to talk about the Pope.
We're going to get to the Pope in a minute.
So that's where I was
All right,
going.
we're coming to you, Pope. So I got a great joke about the Pope. If we have time, we'll do that right at the end. But anyway, we have to understand that all these things are connected. And we're negotiating with the EU. And right now, and so the EU put out that what was one of the first things they said that they were going to tariff if they didn't get what they wanted? No more beef into the EU. So understanding, when you look at a map of the United States and understand who voted Donald Trump into office, it was the rural areas. It was rural America that added up all the votes and was able to get Donald Trump over the top.
No, the map looked completely red, and then you see these spots of blue in the urban areas. So that's the way it looked.
And so agribusiness is very important, and this is something that Trump's going to change. But during the Biden administration, we actually, for the first time in American history, became a net importer of our food. We've always produced more food than we need. But now we're a net importer. In other words, more food comes into the U.S. than what we export now. And that is, for national security, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, my dad farms, and so yeah, that's a concern for sure. So
Oh, yeah. Well, good news for your dad, too, because I know he's a sorghum farmer. And they've got a new variety of sorghum now that is going to replace rice.
great.
I just saw that. But anyway, back to our negotiations, is that they're very tough. And they do come after agriculture first and foremost every time.
I loved when he got his
leverage.
chart out, and
Yes.
he went through every country
Oh yeah,
and laid it out.
but food and fuel, energy and agriculture are always, because if you don't have energy, you cannot have an economy. If you don't have food, you can't feed your population, which both of those result in major revolution. And the political people have known that for centuries. So you have to have adequate food. You have to have energy for economic trade and to manufacture anything. So, and Trump, his team is smart enough to understand that. And from my connections in our trade associations, through my interests, we've gotten back very good reports on all the cabinet members that they're the best cabinet to work with in history, in our time, in modern history. So they want to find solutions. They want to know from our different industries what our problems are and what we think it will take to fix them. And they're including us on the discussions. And so,
I know there's been a little bit of a scare with the tariffs, with prices going up a little bit, but you think overall the tariffs are the right decision?
So if you want to drive a farmer or rancher to drinking, just say tariff. Well, tariffs scare us to death, but Trump administration has done an excellent job of communicating. There comes that communication job back to us, that to be still, that he's got our backs, and that to continue to hang in there, because in the end, he's going to bring us the best deal possible.
And take a sip in the meantime.
Yeah. So just belly up to the bar, folks. Wait it out. But the good times are about to roll, and we're seeing that in the UK. It looks like we're going to be able to export beef. And remember, what's the biggest industry here in Amarillo? Beef cattle. And we're going to be able to export into the EU in the very near future, and we're very excited about that. And you're going to get a bump in that paycheck, guys, as we export into the UK. So EU is next. And
okay, and now the Pope. Can we talk
oh,
about
the
that
Pope?
now? Yeah.
The Pope.
The Pope.
I wish we had time to tell a joke. It's a really short joke, but
I think you do.
It's very, very funny.
Yeah.
So if we have just a little time for a joke. So back in the day, a friend of mine, he was a priest, and it's a true story. He was a priest, and he did a lot for the Pope was making a visit to the United States, and so this priest friend of mine, he was given a special audience with the Pope back in Rome, and so he went there to get the Pope's blessing, and so he went into this room where they were going to hold the audience with the Pope, and a lot of people just packed in there, and so the Pope's assistant came out and said, well, I've got some bad news. The Pope is in ill health, and his heart is bad, and he needs a transplant. And so immediately everybody in the audience says, oh, Pope, take my heart, take my heart, Pope, take my heart. And so the chant went on.
That's a good accent.
Take my heart, Pope, take my heart. That's Italian for you Texans. But anyway, so the assistant said, no, we can't choose anyone, but we'll do this. The Pope will bless a feather, and we'll cast the feather out over the audience.
Oh.
And whoever shoulder the audience lands on, that's who can give their heart to the Pope. And of course the crowd responds and says, take my heart, the Pope, take my heart. And so they cast the feather, and Father Tom, who's my friend, who was over there, the feather comes floating down and floating down, and Father Thomas, take my heart, Pope, take my heart. And pretty soon the feather just comes real close and almost ready to land on Father Thomas' shoulder. And he says, take my heart to Pope. Take my heart to Pope.
He was taking care of himself.
Yes. So,
That's funny.
That's my Pope joke
That's good.
for the day. But
well, this is the first Pope that's from the United States.
absolutely.
And it's the 267th Pope, Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, and he's going to be known as Pope Leo the 14th.
Pope Leo, and it's very critical. A lot of people who maybe don't have connection with the Roman Catholic Church or don't follow it, we're all connected. All of us Christian people are connected, and so the Vatican does play a huge role in state, and when I'm talking about state government, because so I'm going to give you an example. So just like here at Republic Nation, we work really hard to gain followers and people that follow our programming, and people that are on Facebook. They want clicks or they want followers. And you get into rappers or artists that have a following, 3 million people, 5 million people, however many million people that follow them on Facebook. It's the same with the Church of Rome. They have 1.4 billion followers. So see, that concept's been around a long time. So that's very influential in the world, because that's why the Pope is generally very careful on what he says, because he has so much influence all over the globe. And so, but he does play the role of state. And so there's a lot more discussion that could go on there, but that's why the election of the Pope is so important for the whole world, because of the influence that
I saw read where when the smoke rises, that's when they've selected.
Yeah, when the white smoke. Mm-hmm. And so it's very curious. So I invite everybody to read up on the history of the papacy and the Vatican. Read up on that.
I went to the Vatican. This was about 10 years ago, but it was just absolutely, it's breathtaking on the inside when you see it.
It's incredible.
Have you been there?
I've never been to the Vatican, so the two places I'd always like to go are the Vatican and Israel, to the Jordan River, and get baptized in the Jordan River.
That is cold water. Let me tell you, I've been there and I've been in it. That water's really cold.
So I think we're all connected in the world, believe it or not. Martina McBride had a show on several years ago. It's called The 6 Degrees of Connection. And believe it or not, the theory was, and she proved it in the show, was that all of us know each other, every single person in the world, by 6 relationships.
Wow.
6 extended relationships. So we're all connected. So there's...
I feel like in Amarillo, it's even more than that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we love you. And guess what? You're related to me. Sorry. But anyway, that's great. And we have, a tremendous opportunity in front of us. And I think that we want to remember that the Election Day City Council runoff is coming up in June.
Take a little breather and get back to work.
Take a little breather, guys. But you want to, if you didn't go vote last time, I'm going to have your name. I'll know if you did not vote. I'll guarantee you. I know that because I'm the county chair. We have that information. So get out and vote because your future, make sure we have a robust election for the runoff, and that your will is recorded, and that your idea of the future is there. And I want to say that not only as a Republican, but as a conservative, just because people are conservative, and I am, which means I like to change very slowly, but it does not mean that there's not a greater vision. And we've got really good people in place, and we've got one more election to work on and to show up for. And I think we'll get that done, and we'll get this new vision going for us. And just so you know, we are in a new era. The planetary system restarts every 14,000 years. You didn't know that, did you, Cody? But anyway, the planetary system restarts every 14,000 years, and we just did a planetary restart in fall of 24. So we are on a new era. And so the sky's the limit. Make sure you participate in that future, guys.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll catch up again at a later time. Sounds good.
All right.
Okay.
Sarah, it's been great.
It's been good.